Just a second. Yeah, I'm not able to mute whoever Lenovo is. Can you just mute yourself? Fine. We'll. Jai Gurudev. Yeah. Hari Om, Jai Gurudev. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. Yeah, it is open. All of us can share. Yeah, we started from here. So basically, the education is about what you lose in order to gain something. Because common sense, universal values are all common sense, just like how the monkey does not need to learn about gravity. It is inbuilt, it is instinct, it's instinctive. That is as far as animals are concerned. Therefore, even if a monkey takes off bananas from your hand or your windowsill, it is not considered robbery, because that is the monkeys are only living instinctively. It is different when it comes to human beings, because human beings have a faculty of choice. We have a choice to do, not to do, or do it otherwise. So when such is the case, then the question of universal values comes in, common sense values. That is, you do not want to be cheated, you do not want to be lied to, and therefore you do not lie to others. That's a simple common sense that everybody has, that knowledge everyone has. But then, in order to gain, here the question comes, the ends and the means. So the ends are, supposing, having money, fame, power. They're not wrong. But what is the means that we adopt to get the ends? That makes all the difference. So there, are we sticking to universal values? Are we following dharma? Are we following all the tenets of this common sense values that are inbuilt in us, that are known to all of us? Or are we prioritizing the ends and compromising the means? That becomes the issue here. Very stark difference between how Duryodhana functions and how the Pandavas function. And then again, that beautiful thinker-doer split, the Jekyll and Hyde, Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So beautiful, no? You're losing your self-esteem. What greater loss can it be? And no one will be able to give it back to you. Unless you align the thinker-doer unless you align them, every time there is a thinker-doer split, it is eating into your self-esteem, and that is what you lose. And there might come a point, like in Duryodhana's case, that you become so hard that you're not even sensitive to see that what you're losing. Because then you become so clouded with delusion that you're only concerned about the ends. You're not worried about the means. So God save us from being a Duryodhana. We have to be, from making us Duryodhanas. We have to at least have that sensitivity to refine ourselves and become more aligned to dharma.
On this, I wanted to ask, suppose somebody is staying by the seaside, or maybe even in the Arctic Circle or something. With a spear, they spear the fish and they eat it, just like the monkey steals but that is instinct. Would you call these people also instinctive?
I think they're doing it to survive, no? And
Yes.
survival, because they don't have any vegetation that is grown there.
Huh. So
So
is it
then,
instinctive for them also?
I think to an extent, yes, isn't it?
Yes.
Otherwise, how are they going to survive? See, keeping the body, uh, 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 unless you feed the body, you're not going to let life continue. And preserving that life becomes paramount there. There, the priority changes. There, ahimsa you cannot bring in and say, oh, you should practice ahimsa. You should not kill the fish. Because I think
So
there
basically,
it
what we are
becomes a little
saying is
healthy.
that their action is not wrong.
It is not wrong. But when you have a choice, the same thing when the person has a choice of eating, say, other stuff, there are vegetables and fruits, vegetarian stuff available, but he chooses to eat this, then probably the question of dharma, ahimsa comes in. And that's my understanding, because when there is
But
no choice, that guy in the Arctic, in the Eskimo has no choice there.
just this thing, thinking aloud, even plants have life.
Correct. But you have to live, isn't it? Plants can regrow. A plant from a seed can again regrow into another plant. And the life continues that way. Whereas when you kill a fish, there is no other fish that can come out from that, isn't it?
True.
As if. So the sustenance continuity of life is there with respect to plants, whereas that is not there when you kill an animal or kill a fish. And then again, the basic point comes, everybody has to eat to survive. The body requires food. That is one of the basic requirements. Even an amoeba requires it, human being requires it. So
But
there,
see, we resettle ourselves so many times, like even in India or abroad. We go from India, we settle abroad, isn't it? So,
yeah,
like that, suppose somebody from the Arctic pole comes and he settles somewhere else in a region where plants are available, vegetables are available, but his diet has been mostly animal based. And therefore, to ask him to change his diet, it may not be suitable for him also to survive. He may not be able to survive on those veggies. Ultimately, it's the concepts in his mind also that matter, no, over his health.
so what is the question here then?
That even if he comes to a place where veggies are available, would you want him to change from eating animals to plants?
I think it depends on his sensitivity towards the animals. And when you ask that even the vegetables or the plants have life, they don't have the nervous system. They may not feel the pain what animal goes through. compared to that, it is very less. And whatever is less damaging, that we would look for. We want to survive. But if you see, if you leave the plant just like that, but a man has to survive because he has a vivek buddhi, and he can take care of all the other animals or other species. He can take care of them. But if you die as a man, and if you let the animal kingdom survive, that may not be right, because there may not be, vivek buddhi in them. They are just living instinctively. To, I think, to take care of the things, dharma to go on, a man has to survive, because he has a vivek buddhi. He should use his vivek buddhi, when to kill an animal and when not to. It is out of need he does it. It may not be wrong, but if he has a choice not to do this, and he chooses not to do it, I think that is a dharma.
See, that is why, see, survival is a basic instinct, right? That is why we have seen this in history. When there is a plane crash in a very remote place and there is no food available, nothing there to eat, the survivors have actually eaten on the carcasses. They've become savages. Why? Because that is a basic instinct to survive. So they've eaten even human beings, human flesh. So the point again comes as in, if given a choice, and this person, this Eskimo who comes all the way to, say, the tropics to live, if he is exposed to this knowledge of the ahimsa, of dharma, then if he still chooses not to eat, if he still chooses to kill, then he would be following adharma. But as long as he's not exposed to this knowledge of ahimsa, but then it is common sense that you do not hurt others, no? So I honestly don't know. This is a hypothetical situation, but I think it is all about being sensitive and being exposed to this knowledge, this.
And even the food, which plant based food, you should not be overeating as much as to sustain the body. If you're overeating, that also is adharma.
Yeah, correct. From a yogi, you'll become a bhogi and then a rogi if you go on eating too much. We should eat like a yogi. And yeah, I think we're deviating a little bit, but then a yogi is one who eats twice a day or once a day, I think, right? Yogi?
One. एक टाइम
Once.
खाए वो योगी, दो
Ah,
टाइम खाए वो
सारे
भोगी, और
भोगी,
जो 3 या उससे ज्यादा खाए वो महारोगी.
महारोगी हो जाता है. So, एक time, just imagine, we're supposed to eat only once.
No, that's what I said. Na? All these yogis, these rishis, when they move around in the forest, they don't get to eat for 3-4 days. And when we do Ekadashi, 1 day fasting, we say we get acidity, headache, and all that. Because they eat only when something is available to them in the forest. Maybe after 3-4 days once.
Correct. Yeah.
And I was just brainstorming. Some time back, we also had some discussion on meat eaters being brought into our line of thinking. So I just thought,
See, there are so many people who are non-vegetarians who've come into the art of living. When they sit on the happiness program, they're told on day one, this is what you should do. These are the guidelines. Now, they are given that education. They're given the education, okay, for the next 4 days or 5 days, this is what you follow. Most of them do. And then after that, we tell them, listen to your body and continue. Some of them actually become staunch vegetarians. They do not go back to eating meat. But then there are others who go back. They slip back to their normal habits of eating. So then it is like they are given the knowledge that this is what is right and this is what is wrong. They've chosen to take recourse to their non-vegetarian habits. So then that amounts to them being following adharma. So somewhere inside them, every time they eat meat, if they're sensitive enough, they will remember what was taught in the happiness program. That little, that thinker-doer split, that will create that little conflict in them. But if they are, on the other hand, like a Duryodhana, for instance, they just brush it aside, it makes no difference. They will continue doing what they're doing. So I think it's all a matter of being sensitive from within, that inner maturity.
And that's very true. And I think education is the only key over here, because quickly I'll tell. Like I used to cook non-veg dishes for my children and my husband, who were eating then when they were very young. Just that time we were into wrong notion, like protein you'll get only through meat, or every day egg should be eaten because they need a protein, so much of protein and all. But once my children went through the course, they saw some videos and all. I never used to eat, but just because someone told me, oh, you have to feed them with so much of protein and all, I used to cook for them. But when they saw themselves what animals go through, the pain and all, they stopped immediately. They said, no, we are not going to eat anymore. So that it helps. Only education help you to think rightly, I feel. No amount of discussions would help, and people become sensitive.
Yeah, this is so true. Like, I know of a teacher now who's an international teacher in the art of living. And he teaches so many different courses: intuition course, DSN course, part one course, ES plus advanced course, all these things. But on the first day when he came to the course, and the person who recommended the course to him was a bar owner, where he used to go every day to drink. And the bar owner did the course, and then he advised him to do the course. And that bar owner happens to be somebody who is very close to Guruji now, and is doing a lot of work in the ashram for all the disputed land which the tribals claim are theirs. And he is handling all those cases and everything, paying them off and all that. But this fellow, even when he came to the first day of the course, he came drunk. But the teacher let him be. And then after he did the first Kriya, there was a sea change in him. He's never gone back to drinks. And today, just because the teacher accepted him the way he was, he has become such a fine teacher today. He's a real karma yogi, the way he travels all over. We have worked together for 3 years in areas where there were no teachers and volunteers also. And that is really backbreaking work. No place to stay, nothing. Where there are teachers and volunteers, it's okay. You can organize a course. But where there is nothing, in a completely new area, there we have gone and worked also. And then Guruji blessed him to take internationally and has been abroad also to take courses. Very dynamic teacher. So we educate and we move on and we accept people the way they are. And I think that does a better job than enforce anything on anybody. Jai Guru.
Yeah, completely agree. I think that education is the key. But again, when we talk of non-vegetarian versus vegetarianism, I don't know whether in the Mahabharata and all of them, the Kshatriyas, were they meat eating? I don't know. I don't know. But Nana had mentioned this a couple of days back. I think he was talking about references to meat eating. There were
Yeah,
meaningful people.
I was giving a thought on that. Many rishis have been, I mean, they were even fighting like Dronacharya and all. They were warriors, and I think that rajas comes out of that meat. And since they were warriors, they were needed to eat, or maybe the food was not so much available. I don't know when the uh, agriculture thing started. Was it then there also? I think once the agriculture industry came up so much, then there was no need of killing animals, I feel. But
I think
before that, there
agriculture
was
was there even in
is
Krishna's
it?
time, because otherwise
Okay.
Sudama would not have given him the
Poha.
poha, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
agriculture was, of course, there.
Correct. But I think it was meant to be eaten by Kshatriyas because they needed that rajas in them to fight, kind of a thing. But then on that background, if you see, there are many Pailwans who are from Punjab and from Maharashtra, from Kolhapur and all. They built up their body only eating milk products and dry fruits. They never ate non-veg. So even that notion may not be right. That if you want to fight, then you have to eat meat.
Yeah.
I think in all ages, all types of people were always there. Gurudev sometimes says, no, that we say Rakshasas and all. That time, though, the Rakshasas were also so sensitive and they were also spiritually evolved souls, though they were Rakshasas. But they could means come to know that the somebody is chanting Narayana Narayana, and and then they used to kill them, or means why you are chanting Narayana. But that much powers, the siddhis were there with that kind of rakshasas, that they could read the other person's mind also. So these all types of forces are going to be there around. All kinds of foods will also be there. See the kind of rajas and tamas, and all negativities, jealousy, competition, hatred, was at the peak in so many characters of this Ramayana and Mahabharata, isn't it? So these forces will always be there, and there will be a some portion of some part of people who will always dive down deeper to understand the Advaita knowledge also. So as the towards the 33rd video of our Ashtavakra Gita, even Ashtavakra says, no, the life will go on like this. There were these kinds of people, and there will be always such situations and people around, and the flow will always be there. So veg non-veg is also part of the whole game, and certain people will always be the non-veg eaters, certain people will always in between, and certain people will never be able to accept non-veg. So all these things are part of the flow. That's what I feel. So accepting all kinds of people and continuing our uh, sadhana seva satsang is, uh, I think, the best way, not to try to change others. Jai Gurudev.
मुझे एक अजीब क्वेश्चन आया है अभी कि अगर हम कुछ सोचते हैं तो वो हमारा एक संकल्प बन सकता है क्या, और वो संकल्प से वो वैसी वाली स्थिति में हम पहुंच जाएंगे क्या, और हमारे सामने वैसी परिस्थितियां निर्माण होगी क्या?
वो कितने इंटेंसिटी से होता है उसके ऊपर डिपेंड करता है,
क्योंकि थॉट तो
कितने
अपने
इंटेंसिटी।
हाँ, थॉट तो अपने बस में नहीं रहेंगे, कभी आते हैं
हाँ,
तो वो संकल्प
हाँ,
हो जाएगा
नहीं
अननोइंगली भी।
नहीं नहीं ऐसे तो दुनिया भर के ये थॉट्स आते रहते हैं, जाते रहते हैं। आप कौन से थॉट को होल्ड ऑन करते हो, वही
Can I request, sorry to interrupt, can I request, can we just stick to English, because everyone will be
See,
able to understand that.
yeah, Sarlaji is asking, so many thoughts come up, and all of them are going to fructify, and they will be giving the results or what. And we don't have any control over the thoughts. So how come then some bad thoughts come, and if they manifest, then we need to face the results. Then I said, thoughts, to all kinds of hundreds and thousands of thoughts, they come and they go. But which thought we hold on to, which thought we put into action, those only are going to give you the results. Otherwise, just thought has come and gone, and you need not blame, because thoughts are the floating these things, clouds. The clouds which you hold on to is going to give you certain kind of this thing. That's what I said to Sarlaji. Somebody else can elaborate on that.
That is true. But I want to just go back to this thing of vegetarianism, non-vegetarianism. I'm just thinking of a time, supposing the whole world were to become vegetarian, wouldn't there be an imbalance in nature? What will
Not
happen
at all.
to, isn't
Not
it?
at all.
So I
No,
think it is part
not at
of,
all. No,
yeah,
that is a very, very wrong notion, because animals eat, like especially the cows and all, they eat too much of food. And the tons of food, when it goes, maybe the 200 kgs of cow you might get to kill, but it would have eaten tons of vegetation. In the same place, if you grow food grains, it will sustain lot many people for lot many days. So just one cow against thousands of people, it's that ratio. It's not going to be
so my question
imbalance.
is, correct. So there's going to be imbalance if all the people in the world, and hypothetically, supposing everyone was to, follow ahimsa, and therefore no one eats non-vegetarianism and non-veg. So what will happen to the population of cows, to chickens, to hens, to pigs, whoever, whatever is, or fish, for instance? Wouldn't there be a tilt in the creation? They will all
Yeah.
go, they will go on multiplying on the one hand, so there will be an imbalance in creation. So I think this whole,
Everything in moderation would be better, like
yeah,
even if you are eating in, see, all this life is created, like if you see the ocean life, right? That big fish like the shark and whales, they all go and eat with the smaller ones. And so there is that cycle, the circle of life is formed, like even among animals, they go and kill the other animal and eat. Of course, the human being has that sixth sense whether he should do this or not do it, but then instinctively that these animals are going to have their own action, so that's how those things are uh, created. Like I saw that one of those nature video by Vijayji. You see that small bug crawls on that one plant. It just opens its mouth and jump, it digests even the plant eats the animal. Some of them, they eat the carnivore plants out there. So that not, so everywhere you see any tiny little organisms to the human life, there is always this survival to the fittest. That's how it goes.
yeah.
So again, eating in moderation is okay, but I understand we born in India. I think I don't know any other place they practice vegetarian food, but mostly in India. But other than that, every other place in the world, they eat everything.
No, but
But then
that,
again,
yeah.
overdoing it is what is not good, so uh, and that is why that even when the corona came, people going like with the greedy nature, like they eating even all kinds of meat. That's not good. Um,
Then,
they should
but
restrict
there
it.
has to be correct. I agree. That for in order for balance, we have
Yeah.
both of them. But then, why do we encourage people to turn vegetarian? Because I think this is for those set of people who come to knowledge. We don't go
Yeah.
telling everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry out in the road and the streets become vegetarian. Only those who take that first step, they come to the happiness program, they want to
Yeah.
evolve themselves. In order to refine themselves, that is when they're exposed to this concept of vegetarianism, of
Yeah,
ahimsa.
definitely. I agree with that only because when you follow the sattvic life only, then you get to
Correct,
that meditative state, or that you can go to that state. Okay,
correct.
everybody else, like 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 even people who are in this group, they are like have some medical illness. Okay, they cannot eat so many vegetables, and because of the potassium make it go up, or even that. I'm not saying the meat is the another answer, but I'm just saying there are so many restrictions in their life. So we can't tell somebody, okay, this and that. But then again, like coming back to this, where we want to be moksha, or you're going to get to this type of life, I completely agree with you that sattvic food is the way to get there. Like if you have this rajasic food, even I use onion and garlic in some of the cooking because I cook for my family too. I can completely off them. So it's difficult sometimes. So I just want even take off those things, that yeah, that's when we can get there, like. I agree with you.
But if
Yeah,
you're saying to cater to so many non-vegetarians these days, the way the poultry farms work, or the how the cows are, you know, multiplied, mm, it is very heartbreaking to see those videos. If
Thinking
you're
about
saying,
eating even plant life in various part, even whole world, I could say, but unless you are growing your own crop and eating it, maybe you may have some handle on it. Even then, you have to go through so much of soil analysis and this and that. But you go to the supermarket and buy those stuff, you they come from all kinds of, because of the transportation, they grow, and they even get the, because of the profit, they do lots of different things that you don't have any idea.
yeah,
I
Jai Guru
I
Dev.
also know for certain that there are places where this is carried out. They modify. I don't know what actually is the real term for it, but tomato crop. They put some pig cells into it, and they modify the tomato, and it becomes more juicy and all that. And it has a non-vegetarian content in it. What is
Yeah,
it called? I don't know.
it's a recombinant type of hybrid
Yeah, it's a
vegetable.
hybrid. Like you have this hybrid cotton that is grown all over India, which has killed the cotton market.
Yeah, that's how.
Monsanto cotton that was.
Because I understand this point, but there's a lot more awareness had to be brought among the farmers and people to have the right kind of food, because uh, I mean, right kind of vegetable that you have to get from. The only reason I'm saying, I was in India like, well, last month. I saw all the tomatoes. I love tomatoes. The one from India, it has nice taste to it. And now it's not looking like tomato grown in India. It's all fleshy and no juice at all. It even takes long time to cook. The one you get in the market.
I
Yeah, Jai
totally
Guru,
agree with you.
I would
I totally
like.
agree with you, Maharaji. And we grow the tomatoes in the house also. They are so different, and the things nowadays we get from the market, it has lot of flesh but no juice at all. Totally, what you are saying, word to word is right. Because of
Yeah,
the time gap, you can pinpoint it, but slowly, as gradually that thing is introduced into our system, markets, we don't realize it. Continuously staying here, I am
Yeah,
so
but the re-engineering
grateful
has
that you
taken
are
place. As
bringing
far
it
as
to know.
tomatoes and all that is concerned, re-engineering has taken place.
Yeah,
Even in
and
this
one thing
papaya
I
group
want to
like fruit.
mention,
Sorry.
it's a dangerous trend, and even to the cow feed, no, in the cow feed also they're putting the non-veg to get more milk and whatnot. Means actually all of us collectively we are heading towards destroying our own planet, which is a dangerous sign. I am sure uh, something upsurge will come, and these things we need to really revert back. Jai Gurudev. Let's bless the whole planet Earth.
Yeah, Jai Guru Dev, I want to cite an example from my dad's life. Am I audible, please?
Yeah, you are. Go ahead, Simi.
Yeah, see, I come from a army background. My dad had fought the 1971 war, where over a year he did not come home. So, when they go for this war and all, first they have the fresh fruits, vegetables, food and all. When that is exhausted, they come to the tinned food. When that is exhausted and they are in the jungle, they have to boil all the leaves or fruits, whatever the jungle offers. And after that, then they come to killing of the animals, boiling it and eating it. So my dad, who was a vegetarian, just for the survival and to live, he had to become a non-veg for few months. And then when he came back home, he again turned into a vegetarian. And then, he was telling me that in defense, especially in army, such trainings are given, when the war takes place and you are run out of your tinned food or the fresh fruits, vegetables, you are made to live on the existing leaves the jungle offers the animal to kill them, because that is how it is. So, when my dad was telling me, I did become a bit emotional, but then that is what it is. So when my mom tells me, I think I was just 2-3 years old then, that when he came back, he was so skeleton and full of animal bites and all that. But that is a separate issue. Then that is what life of defense people become at the time of war. One has to eat what the circumstances or the situation offers you at that point of time. And then when he was back to normal, he became a vegetarian.
So
Thank you, Gurudev.
the point which is taught in happiness course is need based and not the want based, right?
Uh, yeah. So here it says dharma should be like a fence. No, sorry. Rulers and kings are all like fence-like protectors. Just like how you put a fence around a growing crop to make it to remain, to keep out stray animals, and you don't want them to come and destroy the crop. So too, a ruler should not destroy dharma. Rulers, kings are all like fence-like protectors. They begin to follow adharma, the kingdom will not be fit to live in. Yeah. So the test of time, the test of whether one is following dharma will be whether you can put up dharma as your top priority and subjugate everything else secondary. That is why it is called dharma artha kama. So in pursuing Artha Kama, there's absolutely no problem. But as long as you put dharma in foremost, if you're pursuing Artha Kama is dharmic, it's perfectly fine. So this paragraph here says, it may be your own son or a cousin by marriage who has done something wrong. Nevertheless, the person must be given the punishment that the crime deserves. This is the duty of a ruler. This is for a ruler, but in our own day-to-day life, if we are able to see a wrong as a wrong and not put in between our relationships and things like that in between, then we would be truly aligned ourselves. We would have aligned ourselves to dharma. My father-in-law would always say, to call a spade without fear or fervor, that is true living. I mean, that is the strength of character. That calling a spade, whether it is your own wife or your own child, you should have that strength of character to call out, right? Otherwise, we will be putting filters of relationships in between, and that will cloud our thinking and therefore our actions.
Yeah, Hari Om. Same like Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, they continue to support the wrongdoings of.
Right. Which is true. So it is like introspective. All the story that we have read so far is quite introspective of seeing how much of a Duryodhana we have in us, how much of a Dhritarashtra we are, how much of Krishna we have, how much of Pandavas or Yudhishthira we are, how much of what we are. So just a matter of refining ourselves.
Yeah, especially I don't know where exactly you read about that you turn off the alarm like when you want to wake up early in the morning.
That is the split between thinker and doer.
Right, exactly. That happens several times. I wanted to revamp on that. Like we should do Manana on that one.
Yeah, that is true. But I say the war, dharma of war, all this is all fine. This is all historical. How everybody went to Duryodhana, how they were obliged to him, and then this account to settle, all this. And one thing I wanted to share here, this account to settle, Arjuna was nurturing the need to fight Duryodhana from such a long time. So obviously there was no way he could take to sannyasa directly. That is why Krishna goaded him to do karma yoga, because he had that raga and the dvesha were there inside of him. He had to exhaust that, and the only way he could exhaust it is by doing karma, doing his only through action, through karma yoga he could get out of it. That is why he was prescribed karma yoga, because otherwise he takes to sannyasa and he goes and sits in the mountain. He is only going to nurture that the anger against Duryodhana. Time and again it's going to surface. So the only way he can cow that down is by going ahead and doing what he had to do. Then Arjuna's grief. Right. He suddenly saw them as his own people, and he didn't want to live a life without them. So we're coming to that, Dr. Mara. 1 second. I just thought we'll just run quickly through this. Knowledge of what is right and wrong is universal. If the physical body is considered dharma kshetra, then Kurukshetra is your own mind, in which there are conflicts between dharma and adharma. What is to be done, what is not to be done, what is proper and not proper. Because you already have a certain innate sense about them. Here, no one can plead ignorance of what is right and wrong. This knowledge is universal. But here, I honestly, with Dr. the question of that Eskimo eating fish, I do not know whether that he has this innate knowledge about not hurting the fish, but he's still able to do that. Maybe we'll ask Nana about this to get a bit of clarity on this, and then we can move forward, because nobody wants to be hurt. So then he goes on to explain what universal knowledge is, the monkey's gravity. It is only the baby monkey who has this. See, the mother monkey is running from treetop to treetop. She also knows that if she falls, she's going to hurt herself. Therefore, she goes on jumping. The baby monkey holds on to the mother monkey for dear life, because he knows without that grip, without holding on to his mother, he is certainly going to fall. And there, the survival instinct is what keeps them going on. But then, as a human being, I have a faculty of choice. Unlike a monkey, however, I can choose to live wherever. Treetops, 20th floor, river bank. Because I have the faculty of choice, I can choose my course of action. I can choose various ends and various means to achieve those ends. That human beings seek securities, pleasures is common fact. There are certain, we have to follow certain means to achieve them. More often than not, you'll find that problems lie only in the means and not in the ends. For example, desire for money and end is not a sin. In fact, if you seek money, that is what he meant. He says, following and seeking artha kama is not a problem. Dharma, how you do it, is a problem. Seeking security is natural. Yeah, this we understood. Here, there are many values. I thought we just quickly run through the values here involved in a moral order. Non-injury, the absence of deception. I think all this was there in our 13th, not 13th chapter. Was it there in the... can't remember. I think it was 14th maybe, Gunatraya Vibhaga. Non-injury, ahimsa, the absence of deception, speaking the truth, compassion, sharing, the absence of jealousy, absence of hatred, etc.
So we got like 21 plus somewhere like that. All the guna.
Yeah, I think it was chapter 14, right? I think so. So these are all connected to each other, like noodles, like Nana was talking of yesterday. Each one leads to the other. They're all connected. So with reference to the behavior of others, we are very clear. But this particular knowledge is with all of us and is gathered by common sense. Duryodhana had this knowledge, so did the Pandavas. However, problems arise because of our priorities, which is why we settle for compromises. I think this we should underline. How we choose our priorities. Universal, cultural, and individual values. In the West, there are lots of individual likes and dislikes. And then our choices are based on personal likes and dislikes. But we are concerned about there being a common structure, a universal structure. We're talking of universal values. All that, the discussion we had about food and all that was more, I suppose, cultural. But what we're talking of is universal values. This universal structure that is already...
Excuse me, but the food, non-veg and veg, is it not dharma and adharma? Ahimsa is not, does it not
correct,
involve
but
the
it
ahimsa?
is a little relative. It is not universal in that. In the example that Percy G gave, when there is no vegetarian there, and the only means of survival is eating fish and other things, then it becomes relative, isn't it? In order to survive, you have to eat. So there you cannot say he's doing ahimsa, he's doing himsa, he's doing adharma. So
But
therefore, I think it is with a little clause with respect to food. I think we cannot apply it all or none. It is not all or none. It is relative.
but naturally, if you have seen in Arctic, there would not be any life over there. It is just because people have migrated over there, maybe long back, but they have migrated with their wish and they have started eating over there, settling over there. It is their choice to migrate over there. I don't think naturally anybody would like to would sustain their life over there without having fish around.
You may have a point there, but then again, we are going back in circles, I think, because I think we came to the conclusion, or so I think, that in order to keep the balance in nature, the circle of life, to keep the ecological balance, there would be a need for people to be non-vegetarian. You cannot, for instance, hypothetically have the whole world becoming vegetarian. I think we'll park this for now. We will get some we'll ask Nana for some more inputs on. Yeah.
And we ourselves have to read also.
Yeah. We can do a bit of research ourselves on this.
Jay, I want to add a small thing.
Yeah.
Actually, Swami Suryapada was saying that wherever we are thrown in this cosmic puzzle, that's whatever is given to us, that's where we have to work with that. Like a butcher, he was born in a butcher's family, and you can't talk about, all this ahimsa and all that. He has to do his dharma. In the same way, wherever we are thrown, we have to, accordingly, we have to acclimatize ourselves and live. That's what,
But why don't we think that when we have a choice to get out of that situation, like if my I come from a doctor's family, I have I taken the medicine? No, I have chosen some other profession. Is that not like a profession? They can choose the other profession. If they feel that they should change, they should change. But if they feel that that is good for them, okay, nobody is going to force them. But if the person feels that he should change, and that has been happening, right? Not everyone is following whatever is happening in their family. They are branching it out, right?
Jai Gurudev, we are all in the process of evolution. Slowly, they will also evolve. All these people, it will take several, million years. Or, I don't know. That's what even China was saying in one of his talks. A person who climbs the mountain, you can't compare with the person who is already down, because he has already put in a lot of sweat to reach there. So, it is all in the evolution, things are happening. So we can't simply judge all this. According to their previous samskara, and they come into that setup. He's born in that butcher's family because of so many, reasons. So that's how I perceive. Thank you, Jai Guru.
And even Krishna says, no, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yadapi chintayet. Yatataamapi chintanam kaschinmam veti tatvatah. Of millions of people, there are only few thousands who even think about me. And of those who think about me, only a few, one or two would actually attain me. So like Maltiji very rightly pointed out, I think it's all in the process of evolution. We're all work in progress in different stages. So I think live and let live. If people come to you, you educate them from what you know and let it be. I think that should be the way forward. So, yeah. So this one paragraph was very beautiful. Power, name, fame, and influence are not universal values. I keep remembering, when I was reading this, I remembered how Rishi We talk. Huh?
Rishi Nitya Prajna I'm talking about.
No, not Rishi Nitya Prajna.
Vidyadhar.
Rishi Vidyadharji, he keeps talking of this so many times, and he links this up to the 7 chakras. He says, in his own way, in Hindi, he gives them all in one go. He keeps saying that. Honestly, I could not get all of it at that time, but now it makes a lot of sense now. Money, power, name, and influence are not universal values. You may seek money as a form of security and be prepared to destroy your name for it. There will also be another person who's ready to give up his or her money for the sake of power, name, or influence. Although name, influence, money, and power are generally sought after, they are not universals. So, what is universal? Sympathy, love, and compassion, on the other hand, are universal values, which does not mean that they are absolute. Values are never absolute, they are always relative, even though they may be universal. The point is that one should not go against the universal values while pursuing individual or cultural values. For example, as long as your pursuit of money conforms to the universal values, you are living a life of dharma. Whereas, if your pursuit, whether for money, power, or pleasure, comes into conflict with the universal values, then there is adharma.
Hariom, Brahmaraji, I think Swamiji today in one of the sentences said that to achieve something, you have to lose something. Is there any connection with this thought of lines? He did to achieve something, you have to lose.
Not you have to lose. He says in achieving something, we do not know what we are going to lose. If you're following, I think we're coming to that now. That is the whole thing about the thinker-doer split. He brought that out in bringing out in what we're going to lose in gaining something. Like, for instance, Duryodhana was gaining the kingdom, but he did not know what he's losing. But yeah, we're coming to that, Bela. Duryodhana definitely knew that he did not want to be cheated, and that Pandavas did not want to be cheated either. But power was so important to him that he did not mind cheating or destroying anyone. So that he's got his priorities wrong. So here he's coming to that. Your understanding of the laws reflected in your choice of means is what is meant by inner maturity. When I choose a means which is not proper for the sake of money, I go against the order dharma for the sake of money because I do not understand what I lose. I only know what I gain, money, which is very important to me. The difference between having the money and not having it is very clear to me. He gave the example of that $5,000, no? In order to get that $5,000, that person does not mind going to any extent because he says with those $5,000, he can go for a vacation, he can have a better life, he can be happier. But he does not know what he's losing because of that. He's losing his self-esteem. He's losing that inner, he gets into a conflict. That conflict itself is the loss. So one person may tell a lie for the sake of 5,000, whereas a person may tell a lie for 100,000. It doesn't matter what the amount is, but that lie remains a lie and that eats into your consciousness. So the value of a value needs to be seen. Here he questions, you should not tell a lie. And the person being very pragmatic questions you, what do I lose if I tell a lie? And he goes on giving that train of thought, right? So he says, So what if I get caught if I tell a lie? You will lose your credibility. So what if I lose my credibility? You can't get credit cards. That's why I steal. So this goes on and on. I mean, this is a pointless, argument here. So I see, but what do I lose? Since I do not care for credibility, I do not see that I lose anything. So this is like a Duryodhana state, where you're not bothered about what you're going to lose. But compromise and moral order, if you can see the immensity of the loss with reference to compromises made to gain such things as money, power, then you are mature. You will not go for the bargain because you see it as a bad bargain. I will just quickly run through this because this is where he talks of what you lose, Bela.
Hariom, no, my point was only that even while following the dharmic life, we so many times we lose like being with elderly parents, taking care of them. I mean, we are following dharmic life, but still for sustaining of that life, we lose so many things in reality.
Like what?
A dharmic life is a very, very different issue. I'm not, but even while following the dharmic life, like even those who become monks, they may lose taking care of their parents, or maybe being sansari also, in search of jobs when our children or when we go out of the country. And
Right. I see your point, but I think everywhere your priority will come up first, no?
yeah, and I have come to the conclusion, Brahmaraji, that it is like Purva Janma's, interrelation, Runanubandh, we call in Gujarati.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it is not there, then however best you try, but you will not be able to do what you really want to do.
Right. I think it's an interplay of several factors, not just 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah, so I have stopped judging and I just wonder, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very tricky thing actually, because many have migrated, many have gone out of India for jobs and so many other things 20, 25, 30 years back, 15 years back. And now the ailing parents, they need help desperately. And that time, children are not able to make it. So many challenges come up, and sometimes the comforts also, and the children also, the next generation you need to take care of. So these things are really becoming more and more tricky now, and how to fit it into our dharma and our knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. It's really, we need some kind of guidance from higher realized souls. That's what I feel, because I can see so many examples around me, and being means in India, and how I can extend myself to my friends' parents, my relatives' parents, and everything. And if somebody can manage to have some guidance from higher souls or from Nanaji, it will help us, our age group, very much. Brahmaraji, it's a request.
Bela, I think we'll correct, Madhuri. We'll pose this question tomorrow, along with what Percy ji had asked about non-vegetarianism and all that. So we have 2 questions to get some guidance. Yeah, I know we have far exceeded our Manana time, but I think for the sake of Dr. Mara, you're still there, Dr. Mara? We'll just do the thinker. I think she's not there, but I thought we'll just summarize this thinker doer split. So what happens when you create the split? What you think is not what you do. That is simple example is in your waking state, you think, okay, when I want to get up early, so you set your alarm half an hour early. but you ultimately do not get up, and this goes on. If it is once, it is fine maybe, but if this becomes a habitual practice, it's on and on. So what is it eating into? It is eating up into your self-esteem. So that is why he says, no one can rub against something without getting rubbed. So you lose your self-esteem in the bargain. When you keep continuing to have, for every gain, we need to know the loss. Here he says, well, I'll get up early in the morning and then, but if you tell me something to do and I decide not to do, it's quite different from, I have decided myself that I want to do this, and I cannot do it. Once, twice, or thrice is not a problem. But when I cannot conform to my own decisions more times than not, what self-esteem will I have? If it happens only once, I can always justify. But if I do it consistently, then I cannot have any self-esteem. And without self-esteem, no one can really help me. Even the Lord cannot boost me up, because intrinsically I have a problem. Therefore, I am the loser. To know, I'll just read this one para. If I'm together as a person, this together as a person is such a beautiful phrase that Swamiji uses. I think he uses it quite a lot. Together as a person is having that arjava, where what you think is what you say and what you do. If you're together as a person, I can enjoy sports and a variety of other situations that do not cost money. I can even enjoy myself, which also does not cost money. But whereas if in the process of gaining money, I lose myself, then the transaction is definitely a bad one. To know this about myself is education. It is growing up. Who then can afford not to have such knowledge? So that is where we stop here today. So it's all again boiling down to education, growing up, inner maturity, emotional maturity that Swamiji spoke of in the very first few paras of the introduction. So we can just live instinctively like animals, or we can choose to grow, choose to emotionally mature. And that this is where we stand. Yeah.
Yeah, that word is very nice. Emotional maturity. Wonderful.
Yeah. Together as a person. All these are like punchlines, punch words.
Yes, he uses it very often, together as a person. Very beautiful statement.
Together as a person, and what is to be done is to be done. That's it, period. Nothing more, nothing less. Yeah. Anyone wants to share before we close?
Like kartum shakyam akartum shakyam. Yatha.
Right. Nice. Om loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om tat sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you.